President Lee headed to Japan to meet with his Japanese counterpart, Takaichi, this afternoon. They're expected to discuss ways to strengthen cooperation in areas including intellectual property protection and artificial intelligence, with attention also on whether historical issues will be raised. Commuters faced disruption in Seoul this morning due to a bus strike. This comes after Seoul City Bus Union and management were unable to reach an agreement on a wage increase, despite hours of negotiations that continued late into the night. As the death toll from protests in Iran continues to rise, U.S. President Donald Trump says Iran is seeking to negotiate with Washington. The White House says that although diplomacy is always the first option, attacking Iran with airstrikes is also on the table. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. President EJAE has arrived in Japan and is set to meet with Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi later this afternoon. South Korea's presidential jet landed at Osaka's Kansai International Airport about an hour ago. Lee will travel to Nara Prefecture, Takaichi's hometown, for the South Korea-Japan summit. The summit will begin with a closed-door restricted session attended by a small number of aides, followed by an expanded meeting, a joint press briefing, a one-on-one meeting, and a dinner hosted by Prime Minister Takaichi. President Lee and Prime Minister Takaichi are expected to discuss ways to strengthen cooperation in the economy, society, and culture, as well as regional and global issues. Meanwhile, South Korea's Trade Minister Yo Han-gu, who's currently in the United States, met with key American figures on Monday local time to clarify the intent behind Korea's digital platform regulations. Yo reportedly met with Republican Congressman Daryl Issa, who recently criticized Korea's moves against Coupang and alleged hostility against U.S. companies as a result of the regulations. He also met with U.S. law firms advising the Korean government and joined a roundtable with related interest groups to outline the legislative intent behind the recent passing of the Communications Network Act. Those heading to work faced uncertainty this morning as city buses in Seoul went on an indefinite strike starting today. The disruption comes after talks between the Seoul City Bus Union and management over a wage increase ended without an agreement. Our Park Won-woo has the latest.
Commuters in Seoul woke up to uncertainty on Tuesday morning after the Seoul City Bus Workers Union announced an indefinite strike beginning at 4 a.m. after wage negotiations broke down. That means the operation of around 7,000 buses in Seoul has ground to a halt. And that has caused widespread inconvenience for Seoul residents.
I waited for about 20 minutes without knowing about the strike. Another woman nearby said she waited 30 minutes. It's already past my work start time, and I'm very late because of the delay.
The strike comes after the union and management failed to reach a consensus after over 10 hours of marathon talks on their final wage and collective bargaining agreement on Monday at the Seoul Regional Labor Relations Commission. The dispute began in 2024 when the Supreme Court ruled that bonuses should be included as part of ordinary wages, a decision that's become a recurring point of contention in negotiations. Management at Seoul City Bus kept its stance on revising the current wage system by including bonuses into base pay rather than recognizing them as part of ordinary wages to keep labor costs manageable while offering a wage increase of over 10%. That was countered by the union asking that the bonus issue be excluded from the talks, while demanding a 3% raise and also calling for an extension of the retirement age to 65. Management said that could lead to an effective wage increase of around 20% if the bonuses are recognized as ordinary wages, arguing it was unacceptable. Mediators suggested resolving the bonus issue through legal channels and proposed an interim wage increase of 0.5%, which the union rejected, leading to the strike.
We saw no sincere effort from either representatives of Seoul City or management. That left us no choice but to strike, and we don't know how long it will continue.
We're very frustrated that negotiations collapsed despite our proposal that we believe exceeded the standards set by other local governments.
As the strike continues, Seoul City has rolled out emergency measures, including expanded subway services and free shuttle buses connecting subway stations. The city said it will make every effort to minimize inconvenience for residents, while also urging the union to consider the public and return to work as soon as possible. 박건우, Arirang News.
North Korea has called on South Korea to clarify an alleged drone intrusion into its airspace. Pundits here believe the drones that the regime claims came from the south were civilian crafts. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung reports.
Aside from the Defense Ministry's claims that South Korean drone infiltrations were not a military operation, experts say a civilian drone was likely involved after considering the pictures released by the North. The drone reportedly matches the Skywalker Titan 2160 model, commonly used by ordinary people that can be purchased through overseas platforms.
They used regular commercial parts, not military ones. The design is very vulnerable to jamming or other means of bringing drones down. It's not military equipment at all, just for civilian use. In fact, it's almost the same as models that anyone can easily order from Chinese online shopping sites.
Pyongyang claimed South Korean drone infiltrations were first made in September last year and then in January. Another expert says we need to note the timing of the regime having brought up the issue, right after the EJAE summit, to show that the regime is against China playing a role to ease the tensions, and just before the 9th Party Congress to strengthen internal unity.
Since South Korea is asking China to become a mediator, North Korea may be hinting that it does not want to respond or cooperate. Also, domestically, North Korea prefers tension between the two Koreas to support its view that they are hostile states, rather than trying to improve relations.
With the North Korean leader's sister Kim Yo-jong having warned that South Korean authorities must provide a clear explanation, the possibility of talks between the two Koreas is very unlikely, the expert added.
When a message like this is released through Kim Yo-jong, it's less about creating a positive turning point and more about neutralizing South Korea's peace efforts.
With Seoul's aim to come up with momentum to resume dialogue with Pyongyang before Trump visits China in April, eyes are on how the North will respond to the South's investigation results that will come out in the future. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
And North Korea has stolen nearly $3 billion in cryptocurrency, making its cyber operations one of the most urgent security threats facing the United States and its allies. Senior U.S. State Department official Jonathan Fritz said Monday that the hacking campaign is now a top U.S. priority because it threatens American citizens, businesses, and national security. Fritz was speaking in New York ahead of a briefing by the Multinational Sanctions Monitoring Team, an 11-nation group created after Russia shut down the UN expert panel on North Korea sanctions in April 2024. According to the group's latest report, North Korea stole $2.84 billion in cryptocurrency between January 2024 and September 2025, including $1.65 billion in the first 9 months of 2025. U.S. officials say the money is being used to fund North Korea's weapons programs and bypass international sanctions. And U.S. President Donald Trump says Iran is seeking talks after he threatened military action over Tehran's deadly crackdown on nationwide protests that activists say have killed hundreds. The White House says diplomacy remains the first option, but airstrikes are on the table as tensions between Washington and Tehran continue to escalate. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
U.S. President Donald Trump says Iran is seeking negotiations with Washington after he warned of possible military strikes over Tehran's violent crackdown on nationwide protests that activists say have killed at least 599 people. Trump made the remarks as tensions between the two countries reached a new high following days of deadly unrest across Iran and growing international pressure on the government in Tehran. Iran has not directly responded to Trump's claim that it wants to negotiate. However, the comments came shortly after the foreign minister of Oman, a longtime mediator between Washington and Tehran, traveled to Iran over the weekend, fueling speculation that the back-channel talks may be underway. What Iran could realistically offer remains unclear. Trump has demanded strict limits on Iran's nuclear program and its ballistic missile arsenal, both of which Tehran says are essential to its national defense. In Washington, the Trump administration continued to warn that military action remains a possibility. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Monday that diplomacy is always the first option, but that airstrikes are on the table.
Diplomacy is always the first option for the president. However, with that said, the president has shown he's unafraid to use military options if and when he deems necessary, and nobody knows that better than Iran.
Large-scale protests and riots have shaken Iran for days. Security forces have responded with a lethal crackdown that activists say has killed hundreds. Iranian authorities say dozens of security personnel have also been killed, though those figures are difficult to verify because of the nationwide internet blackout. Opposition groups insist the true death toll is higher and includes large numbers of protesters. 이승재, Arirang News.
Netflix hit film K-pop Demon Hunters scored a double win at the 83rd Golden Globe Awards in Los Angeles, fueling expectations for further success at the Academy Awards. Our Lee Soo-jin has the details.
And it was. This comes as Netflix's mega hit movie K-pop Demon Hunters scored a double win at the 83rd Golden Globe Awards held in Los Angeles on Sunday local time. In the Best Animated Feature category, the film competed against titles including Zootopia 2, one of the highest-grossing releases in Walt Disney Animation Studios' history. Accepting the award, director Maggie Kang spoke with her voice trembling with emotion.
Thank you to the Golden Globes and for everyone who believed that a movie so deeply rooted in Korean culture could resonate with a global audience.
The main song from the film's official soundtrack, Golden, also beat out competing songs for major releases including Wicked for Good and Avatar Fire and Ash. Singer-songwriter EJAE burst into tears as she accepted the award, dedicating the honor to people who've had doors closed on them, encouraging them never to give up.
It's a dream come true to be part of a song that is helping other girls, other boys, and everyone from all ages to get through their hardship and to accept themselves. So thank you, Golden Globes, for accepting my voice and our voice.
The wins marked a double victory, though the film fell short of a third award in the Cinematic and Box Office Achievement category. Korean film No Other Choice was nominated in 3 categories, including Best Non-English Film and Best Male Actor, but did not secure a win. Still, one expert says the wins by K-pop Demon Hunters are truly significant in themselves.
The film has been a global phenomenon. The movie, along with the soundtrack song Golden, has topped numerous charts in a way unmatched by other films. It has also sparked countless cover videos and memes, influencing even people who haven't seen the movie itself.
She added that while the Golden Globe wins do not guarantee success at the Academy Awards, the film's strong critical reception and global popularity will be considered similarly, suggesting it could remain as a serious contender. And with that in mind, expectations are building for further success for Korean cinema in the upcoming Oscars in March. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Sales of Korean museum goods reached an all-time high last year, riding the global wave of interest in Korean culture. The National Museum Foundation of Korea said on Tuesday that sales of its merchandise brand, Mudes, reached $28 million in 2025, nearly double the revenue of the previous year. The growing popularity of museum merchandise has also boosted interest in the National Museum of Korea, which drew 6.5 million visitors last year. The foundation said it plans to expand into the global market by strengthening cooperation with overseas museums and linking its products with major international events, including the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympic Games.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. The Trump administration has opened a criminal probe into Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell in an explosive clash between the White House and the U.S. Central Bank. Powell disclosed that the Justice Department on Sunday served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas last week, threatening criminal indictment over comments he made to Congress about cost overruns tied to a $2.5 billion renovation of the Fed's Washington headquarters. Powell pushed back publicly, calling the probe a pretext to strip the Fed of its independence and force interest rate cuts. The move drew swift condemnation from former Fed chairs, global central bankers, and senior Republicans, including Senate Banking Committee members who warned the probe risks undermining the independence of the world's most influential central bank. Republican Senator Tom Tillis has already vowed to block any future Fed nominees until the administration resolves this legal assault. Financial markets reacted immediately. Long-term U.S. Treasury yields rose, gold hit a record high, and the dollar weakened as investors weighed the consequences of a politicized Federal Reserve. President Donald Trump will meet Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado at the White House. The meeting set for Thursday comes weeks after U.S. forces seized President Nicolas Maduro in Caracas. Trump has so far declined to endorse Machado as Venezuela's new leader, despite her coalition claiming victory in the country's disputed 2024 election. Instead, the U.S. has said interim President Delcy Rodriguez has been cooperative with Washington. Machado says her movement should lead Venezuela, rejecting former Vice President Rodriguez as a key figure in past repression. Trump has sent mixed signals questioning Machado's domestic support and respect, but agreeing to meet her days after she offered to dedicate her Nobel Prize to him. A Swiss court on Monday ordered 3 months of pre-trial detention for a bar manager following a deadly New Year's Eve nightclub fire that killed 40 people and injured 116 others. The court held the manager of the Le Constellation bar in Crans, Montana, citing flight risk as prosecutors pursue charges including involuntary homicide and involuntary bodily harm. Investigators say decorative candles ignited ceiling soundproofing materials, while authorities found fire safety inspections had not been carried out since 2019. Swiss officials have launched a criminal investigation into the bar's owners, elevating the tragedy from an accident to a potential case of criminal liability. Toy maker Mattel released on Monday its first ever autistic Barbie to promote diversity and neurodivergent representation. Mattel developed the doll over more than 18 months with the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, designing features to reflect how some autistic people experience the world, including reduced eye contact, sensory tools, and noise-canceling headphones. The company says the doll aims to improve representation of neurodivergent children, noting autism affects 1 in 31 8-year-olds in the United States, according to the Centers for Disease Control. 주지현, 아리랑 뉴스.
Most of the snow and rain have now come to an end, but as the precipitation has frozen on the cold ground, many roads remain slick and icy. Please drive and walk with caution. We started off 5 to 10 degrees Celsius higher than yesterday in many parts, and highs will actually get colder as the day goes on, at least for the capital area. Along with biting winds, then we're waking up to another freezing morning tomorrow. Strong wind advisory remains in place for some of the west coast, the east coast, and Jeju Island. Then dry weather advisory also remains in place for most of the east coast regions, increasing the risk of wildfire, so fire safety is a must. This afternoon, Seoul gets up to -4 degrees Celsius. Daegu, Gyeongju both make it to 4 degrees under mostly sunny skies nationwide. Well, this intense cold snap will ease on Thursday with a chance of wintry mix on the same day. Take care, stay warm and safe.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.